that, and that when he was always trying to tell people, no, 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 don't hate, don't be against, right? We're for Indian rights, we're for this, we're for that. And I think that's just one example, you know, or Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King wasn't against white people, right? But he was for the rights of African Americans. And that carries with it a very different energy, a very different consciousness. On the surface, it may not look as powerful because we're not going to battle, we're not yelling, we're not screaming, we're not going to wars with people. But underneath, on the unmanifest level, it's infinitely more powerful, exponentially more powerful when our consciousness is what we're for than what we're against. Fear just doesn't win out, period, as far as I'm concerned. Nobody can avoid the truth forever. If the human species doesn't survive, well, I would like it to survive. It's nice. I like it as it's going. But, you know, as far as I've seen in the history of the world, there's almost no species that survives forever. And if we don't do the job, if our consciousness doesn't evolve, life or existence will just go, well, that didn't work too well, you're out. And I don't mean that to sound as casually as I put it, like, you're out, because there will be a lot of blood and suffering and difficulty, you know, in that process. So I don't mean it as casually as I sound it. But underneath, I know that life takes care of itself. There's nothing in me that's afraid that, like, somehow we'll all just go into this terrible abyss and nobody will ever make it out. But having said that, that's not an excuse to then just go unconscious. Like, since that's the way it will be, then I won't do anything. I won't be involved. That's a spiritual kind of cop-out. But when you come from that place, see, then we're not coming from a place of fear again. It keeps arising, you know? And to me, I never find in this that we are, the spirit that we are, words like what we must do, or what like it's telling us, like, somehow we have to do this or we have to do that. It's just, to me, I see it as more, it's in the nature, within the nature of spirit, within the nature of the sacred, to do this, to lean this way. Its nature is to, you know, its nature is to awaken, its nature is towards love, its nature is towards unity or harmony. That's in its nature. So that's what it does. It just seems to seem as though we keep getting to these points of crisis. Crises are often the catalysts for change. You know, and I think as humanity as in general, I think we can all start to agree, I hope we're starting to agree, that we're coming to a point of crisis. That we're coming into a contact, not with just our own personal mortality, but our mortality as a species. That we as a species may not survive. And that can provide, just like individual mortality can lead to a change of consciousness, because we realize time's run out. There's no more time. So in that no more time, sometimes consciousness can shift. And as humanity, I think we're rapidly approaching that same kind of imperative. Time is running out. And so quite naturally, there's tremendous pressure on humanity, on humanity's consciousness right now. We all feel it, right? This tremendous pressure to evolve, to awaken, you know, because somehow intuitively everyone knows if there's not some rather dramatic shift in consciousness, then this opportunity will be missed. Because there is the personal. I would love this transformation for my children and for all other beings, and, you know, for personal. But that's kind of the point I think I was trying to touch on, although not as succinctly as maybe I could have been. That point where that desire or that impulse has to transcend our personal concerns, even the personal concerns for the future of my children. In other words, it has to include maybe that we don't know what's the best thing. maybe the best thing is that we don't survive as a species. Maybe that's, and it's possible, see, because until everything is possible, we're not even actually inquiring into what's true, because we've put limits. I'll only look at what's true if it happens to exist in this little box, right? But if what's true ends up to be, you know, existence is kind of done with humanity, it hasn't worked, it's going to try something else, like, no, I'm not going to. So to me, to look at what's really true, it has to open up to this thing that's beyond. It includes, of course, it's going to include your personal concerns, wanting to be happy, wanting your family and your children to have a good life and to survive. That's fine. We're never going to just get rid of that. But I think it has to include a much, much bigger context. What's really real? What's really true? Really? And can I even ask the question in such a way that the question itself goes beyond a human concern? Can I ask it from the point of existence rather than from the standpoint of me, or even the standpoint of humanity? So can I ask it from the biggest possible context? I think that's very, very, very important. Because only then are we actually touching into something that has infinite power. And it seems like that's what's necessary. We have to touch into something that has infinite power, infinite transformative power. And we never come into what has infinite transformative power as long as we stay only within the personal domain. So how do we, you know, how does one do that individually is one question. And of course a bigger question is how does that happen collectively? And I tell you the truth, I don't have an answer for that. As a teacher, what I've seen is people come with that kind of motivation that's truly transpersonal, that comes from, I would say, comes from existence. They come to me with it, or they don't. They got it or they don't. I can't develop in them. I can't convince them of it. It's a part of their own maturity. They may not start there, but later they may mature there. But I can't like put it into them. I can talk to them about it, but you know, it's like when you're 10 years old and you say, oh, you look at adults, I'd love to be an adult for a day. What are you going to say to a 10-year-old? Here's how to be an adult for the day. Here's how to, you know, fast forward your consciousness 10 years from now. No, it doesn't work that way. You know, the time will come. Whether it comes quick enough, that's a whole other question. Yes, we are having a difficult time. We've been having a difficult time for a long, 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 long time. Yeah, if we don't realize that sort of, that collective sense of what we really, really are, that we're not separate, you know. We're not even connected. We're more than connected. We're the same. We're the same in expression. We're very unique and we're very different. And there's a beautiful, you know, individualized manifestation of the one. But the whole substance of that, it's all one. It's all the same substance. If we don't realize that, you know, there's no hope. There's no hope. There's no political system that's going to save us. There's no environmental movement that's going to save us. Nothing imposed from the exterior is going to change it. We've been trying that for thousands of years, to impose structure from the outside. You know, here's the political system, here's this system, here's that system. Of course, some are better than others, right? Some are relatively better than others. But ultimately, you know, as the great Christian monk Thomas Merton said, you know, any political system is about as good or bad as the people who make it up. You know, and the system will never, it doesn't transcend the people, it doesn't change the people. So it's our consciousness that is the thing that has to change, our perspective. First of all, most of spirituality is a myth and a dream. It belongs firmly to the dream state. 90% of what we